Start the new year right during the Xfinity Hello 2021 sales event. For a limited time, get Xfinity Internet and mobile together for only $35 a month for 12 months with a 1-year agreement. And mobile with our 1 gig wireless data option. Plus, get $250 back. This sale ends soon, so visit Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit an Xfinity store today. Internet offer requires paperless billing and autopay. Ends 1/11/21. Restrictions apply. New performance starter plus internet customers only. Equipment taxes, regulatory recovery, and other fees extra and subject to change. After term regular rates apply.
We're always driving to dance lessons. So we signed up for Know Your Drive. We save money and get closer to her dancing dreams.
The daring young man on the flying trapeze.
Or maybe her singing dreams. Sign up for Know Your Drive and save up to 20%. American Family Insurance. Insure carefully, dream fearlessly.
Products not available in every state. Discount terms apply. Visit amfam.com/knowyourdrive for details. American Family Mutual Insurance Company, SI, and its operating company, 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Welcome back, everybody, to Wrestling Omakase. It is episode number 195. This week, I am here with a returning guest, but a guest who hasn't been on in quite a while. So, welcome back to the show, Mr. Joey Bay.
Thanks for having me on, John. It's been a while, but I'm excited to be back.
What have you been up to? We already talked for a while before we started recording, so it always feels weird when I ask somebody who I just heard all about what you've been up to, like what you've been up to.
Yeah, I think like most of us good citizens, we've just been doing a whole lot of nothing, and luckily there's still wrestling going on, so we have some entertainment to keep us occupied at least. So just sticking to that pretty much, and going outside and getting some fresh air every once in a while.
Yeah. Do you guys both have, like, I mean, you and your is it girlfriend or wife? I can't remember.
She is my wife now.
Oh, your wife now. There you go. She is your. That's a really famous Sound Voltex song. She is my wife. So there you go.
Oh. Right on.
But yes, so you and your wife, you both have work from home jobs, or like, do you have to like go into work or anything, or no?
I primarily I'm working from home. I have to go into the office one day a week, but it's like nobody else is in there, so the risk levels are pretty low. And then my wife is exclusively working from home at this point, and yeah, I think she's ready to get back, and I'm kind of ready to just continue working from home. I get to hang out in my basement with all my Weekly Pro magazines and all my autographed merchandise and all my stupid wrestling trinkets, and you know, it's a great environment for me personally. So
yeah, I love working from home too. I can't even sometimes I feel guilty about it, where it's like, oh well, you know, this thing has killed 400,000 people. Really made my day-to-day life a little better, and I feels really guilty. It is a weird thing to say, but yeah, because I used to have I've talked about this on the show before. I had a brutal commute because we don't, you know, Nicole and I don't drive, but we live in the I guess, I don't know if you call it the North Bronx or what. Like, it's right on the edge of the Bronx and Throgsneck. But, you know, it's a very nice neighborhood, and it feels like not having to do this commute every day, I can finally enjoy it. But
sure.
The commute, like, was brutal because we don't have, like I said, we don't have a car. We don't even have subways over here. So it was like what they call an express bus, which is like, you know, I don't know, calling prison like a vacation, because it was like an hour and a half, you know, at least in the morning. and then if you're lucky, an hour back. Sometimes longer. So it was just brutal. So yeah, I don't miss that. I don't have to. I mean, I've gone in, I think, 3 times total since last March. So I really don't have to. It really is great not having to do that anymore. And Nicole works in the same office as me, so she also just she and I both work at home now. But yeah, it's that part of it's nice. I definitely would like to leave the house for other reasons, which I don't get to do anymore. I mean, I think I've gone out twice since the end of October, anywhere. So
Oh wow.
I mean, outside on the balcony and walk around, but I mean actually go somewhere, because we get all of our groceries delivered and stuff, so we don't even really need to go food shopping or anything. But
yeah, that's about all we venture out for at this point. I mean, Missouri, we used to be a purple state, but we're pretty darn red at this point. And it's if you go outside of the city limits and even some areas within the city, it's still Trump land over here. And whatever side you fall on, I know we probably agree on this, but it's pretty terrible. And it's just exacerbating and extending this no mask stuff and establishments staying open and whatnot. It's pretty rough.
Yeah, I mean, we don't really have that problem, at least here. I mean, when you occasionally do you see people without masks, but it's pretty rare. So, I mean, I guess that's nice. But yeah, it is of course very stupid. People outside of America probably listen to that and are like, "What does politics have to do with face masking?" Well, in this country, this country has a lot to do with face masking, unfortunately.
Yes.
So,
yeah, it's very much politicized, unfortunately, and that's why we're in the situation we're in.
Yeah, I mean, it is really sad. But we were talking about off the air. There is a new administration, so maybe they'll, maybe get these vaccines moving a little faster.
I hope so.
It's I don't not that I'm I don't expect them to do a miracle or anything, but they can't really do much worse than the last guys. So
definitely.
But yeah, some Japanese wrestling to talk about here. All Japan and New Japan is what we're here to talk about this week. Of course, Joey, as we talked about the last time, you've also been to Japan several times. We were just talking off the air that we were both supposed to be going to the G1 this past October, which I totally forgot you were also going to go to that before the world ended. So that would have been cool. That would have been my first time seeing you since we were both on the first Allen trip in 2016. So.
That's right. Yeah, I think we were in the same town for All In. I think we were both at All In.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Logistically, I don't think it worked out. I drove up and drove home the same day, and so it was just I had no time to actually go and hang out with everybody. I think Rich Craich had a Labor Day barbecue or something that I was invited to, and I couldn't make it, unfortunately. But
yeah, I went to that.
Darn the luck, but
yeah, I went to that, and the other big gathering I went to, there was everybody went to this GameWorks arcade, after All In, and gathered there for some reason, which was a little bit of an odd choice for a gathering, but it worked, I guess. But yeah, then I flew in for that, so because obviously I'm very Chicago's pretty far to drive for me.
Yeah.
And we stayed, I think we only stayed maybe we stayed 2 nights. No, we definitely stayed 2 nights because we went to that AAW show.
Right, yeah.
Because there were 2 of them. I think we went to the second one. We must have gone to the second.
So you went to the Logan Square they were running that weekend. Yeah, I think that's such a cool wrestling venue. I love that place.
Yeah, it is really cool. It reminded me a lot of these old Ring of Honor venues I used to go to all the time. So.
Oh, for sure, yeah. I kind of reminds me. I've never been to the New Yorker, but it's pretty tight, New Yorker, in that sense. And I envision it kind of being a similar atmosphere. But
that would be a good idea for an Omakase someday. Is my favorite wrestling venues, and get people on who've been to a bunch of them, because I've been to so many, not to brag, but between all these American shows I used to go to and now all these Japanese shows, be quite the New Yorker would be high on my list because that was an amazing venue.
I bet, man. If you ever do a show with that topic, I'd love to be on.
Yeah.
not to shoehorn my way in.
Yeah, that'd be a cool idea. Maybe I'll think about that for a week coming up where I don't have anything planned so far. But yeah, so like that, we were in the same town for all that. I didn't even realize that. But yeah, the last time when I seen you was during that Allen trip when you and I seemed like the only two people that were interested in going to see a lot of stuff. So
yeah, man. Yeah, we went to Fuji Q. We went, me, you, and Matt McEwen, and I think Jonas went out to Fuji. Took a bus out there. That was a ton of fun. You separated from the group one day, and I remember went down to Kyoto for a quick bop and saw a band that you wanted to see, right?
No, so two separate things. I did go to Kyoto by myself, and then I also went to I saw Sakana Action, who does the opening to this show. Actually,
yes.
I saw them that was in Makuhari Messe. So that's basically like right when you cross over from Tokyo into Chiba, like you're going towards Narita Airport. It's like right on the edge of Tokyo and Chiba. It's like this big convention center complex. Like New Japan and other wrestling promotions, they run there pretty regularly. So, but
gotcha.
Yeah, it's not that far from Tokyo. But yeah, Kyoto I just went to because I was like, who knows if I'll ever come back to Japan at the time, and I really want to see Kyoto. So I went and like saw a whole bunch of stuff by myself that day. Even
that's so cool.
That Shinkansen ticket was very expensive, but it was worth. Like people thought I was nuts for doing that all in one day because I guess most people don't look at Tokyo to Kyoto as a day trip. But
sure,
I did.
Well, having done the Shinkansen trip to Kyoto myself now, it really isn't that bad. It's like even if you do the JR Pass version, which isn't I think that gets you
the second fastest.
Exactly, yeah. So we did that, and it still only took us like an hour and a half. So if you go early enough, you could still have a pretty packed day if you catch the last Shinkansen back up to Tokyo if you're doing a day trip. But that's really cool.
Yeah, that's what I did. And most people, I think, stay over. But I mean, there's so much to see in Kyoto that like one day is going to like be, nothing basically because like,
sure.
just all this historical stuff. But I really wanted to see the really famous palace. It's like one of the few I'm blanking on the name, but it's like one of the few palaces or castles in Japan. I think it's Nikko Castle that like actually survived completely and like didn't have to rebuild it. So like the interior is like exactly the same even as it was, hundreds and hundreds of years ago. It's one of the few castles you can actually walk through and like, see how it looked basically. But yeah, it was the emperor's, or not the emperor's, it was the shogun's castle in Kyoto when he would come to speak to the emperor. So during the shogun era, I think the Edo period, he would come from Tokyo to Kyoto to speak to the royal court, which was still based in Kyoto, and that was basically the castle he would stay in. So
I see. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for the history lesson. Yeah, we did the Fushimi Inari, and we actually stayed at that point. Airbnbs were still a thing, very prominent in 2017. So we stayed like in Gion with like we saw like geishas walking through the streets and stuff. And I mean there weren't too many, but it was pretty cool to actually witness, that type of stuff instead of just futuristic Tokyo. And not to say all of Tokyo is futuristic because you can go down some streets and feel like you're in the countryside even in that densely populated city.
Yeah, there's some really cool like that was the thing Nicole couldn't believe when I took her there because she grew up in New York, so she's used to like the city stuff, but she's like their green spaces are like really green, like really like they do a really good job with that. But yeah, I actually did, thinking about it, I did a Kyoto day trip again on my last trip, this time for a wrestling show, which it was like the second to last day in Japan, even after we had gone to Osaka and Kyoto, and we went back to Tokyo, but DDT added a show at Kyoto KBS Hall.
So you got to see KBS.
Yeah,
in person.
So I was like, I'm doing this. I don't give a shit. I'm gonna go take the hour and a half train, or I think 2 hours. Because I think I had the JR pass this time. So yeah, whatever it is, I took the train all the way out there, went to this one show, and then took the train back to Tokyo. Even though I had been in Kyoto already on this trip, but I was like, I don't care. I've KBS Hall was a bucket list item for me because that's for people listening who don't know, that's the one with like the stained glass windows. Yeah, it looks so cool on TV, and even in person it looks cool too. It's a little jarring to see them because it's the way they're set up with the rest of the building. The part of the buildings you can't see on TV, it doesn't match as well as you would imagine. Like it looks a little like plastered on or something, I will say. So that was a little surprising, but still really cool just to be there and see it after seeing it on tape for so long. Because, like, you know, the first time I saw that on tape was probably like 2002 or something, because Toryumon used to run it all the time. So, yeah, it's a pretty crazy build. It's a pretty, like, historic building for me, so I definitely wanted to see that one. So, like, the only...
I'm jealous.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I mean, the only, like, building left on my bucket list that I haven't been to is the Nippon Budokan. So.
Ooh, I got you there.
Yeah.
I still need to. A bucket list for me is Kobe Sambo Hall. I know it's just a big room. It's nothing special, but I just want to go see a Dragon.
I kind of want to see one too there too. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I haven't been to either Edion Arena, and I really want to see shows in Osaka.
Yeah, you're right. I haven't been there either. I went to Osaka Joe Hall, which was
me too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, I haven't seen the Edion Arena either. So I guess there are some other ones, but
yeah.
Nippon Budokan is a big one for me though. So
I was actually, not to keep harping on this subject before we get into, you know, what we're here to talk about, but like if there's a direct comparison to Osaka Joe Hall, for me personally, I've only been to MSG once, and it was before they renovated it. And just the bowl style of Osaka Joe Hall reminded me a lot of MSG, but it was a much nicer venue overall.
Yeah, I know. I've been to old MSG a million times too, so I definitely see the resemblance. Yeah, like Osaka Joe Hall was like one of these buildings I wasn't expecting. Like I didn't have it on like as a bucket list item or anything, but it looked so cool once I was in there. I mean, it is a really cool looking venue. So
yeah, it's awesome.
When did you go to Osaka Joe Hall for Dominion 2018?
17. So I was there for the hour-long draw, and I think I went and did Best of the Super Juniors 2017. So Osprey and Kushida, and then we went to Osaka and Kyoto, Kobe for the following week.
Yeah, you did the same exact thing I did in 2019 when I saw I saw cool. Osprey, Shingo, and then Okada Jericho, which was not that good, but Naito Ibushi was really good, so that was cool. But yeah,
that's like a great time to go.
Yeah.
Like if you're a wrestling fan and want to not go in the winter for the Dome and still want to see a bunch of like big New Japan shows, like that's clutch right there. And then there's always something going on with at Korakuen, so you can fill the rest of the week up.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what else we saw. I will say it felt like there was less other stuff to go to than in April or in like G1 time. Like as far as like other random promotions running, I mean there was still stuff, but like it didn't feel like other promotions were running a lot. But because I remember that first we went to, when there was a million things going on, and then when I went during the G1 time, that was right when we got to go to DDT Peter Pan too, and then there was also, I think there was like a couple of Noah shows, like there was a whole bunch of stuff. So yeah, I just feel like of the 3 times, there probably was the least other non-New Japan stuff to do. Obviously, the most, which I'm gonna do at some point, hopefully this year, if we ever get back to normal by then. The best time to go for random other stuff and a big New Japan show is obviously Wrestle Kingdom, because everything is running at the same time. So that'll be really fun if I actually get to go. But let's just say I'm not counting those chickens yet. I mean, if I don't
mark in the calendar, just not getting your hopes
up. I mean, if I don't go this year, then I'll probably go the following year. But I guess we'll see. Anyway, so All Japan's Korakuen, which is the first show we're here to talk about. It was January 24th on Sunday. So I should say we're going to talk New Japan as well, but I figured we could start with All Japan since their show here was much bigger. The other show we're going to talk about is the New Japan January 23rd Old Award Gym show. And we'll touch on the road to New Beginning stuff in general, because I have a few thoughts on it. So teaser for later. But yes, this Korakuen, it seemed like it was a sellout for the current amount of fans allowed at COVID. 667 people attended, so that's probably about capacity right now. Obviously some of these New Japan Korakuens from earlier in the week were doing hundreds less than that. So people did show up for this one, at least with the big match.
Was it the second night of the New Japan Korakuen run last week that only had like 300 people?
Yeah, I think so. And these weekday shows are becoming a real tough sell now, because So
the early starts.
Yeah, so 6 p. So they were starting at 6:30. That was the normal start time. Even though it's not like I don't think it's legal that they have to end by 8 o'clock, but they're trying to abide by the Tokyo curfew, where they want people home by 8 o'clock. Of course, you could talk about the effectiveness of whether a curfew helps for COVID. It's not vampire attacks they're trying to fight here. But yes, that's right now what they're doing. They have the 8 p.m. Curfew. So they're starting the show at 6, and they're trying to have them over by 8, and that's been fine. They've been getting them over by 8. The problem is, like, people have work still, and a lot of people get off of work at 6. So if you rush or later in some cases. So I mean, I've heard people say that, like, when the show's at 6:30, people sometimes don't arrive till 7. So now if you arrive at 7 for a 6:30 Korakuen in the last 2.5 hours, I mean, you still got plenty of show. If you arrive at 7 for a 2-hour Korakuen that started at 6, you have an hour left, basically. So
yeah, you get the semi-main and the main event probably. And that's
so it's a really tough sell for people right now. The weekend shows are doing better. I mean, today's show, I don't know if they have a number yet, but it looked pretty full, today's Korakuen. Let me see if they have a number on the site yet. And obviously this show was at 11:30 a.m. on a Sunday, so really no problem there as far as in attendance.
And it's especially nice for us on the over in America.
Yes,
on the other side of the Pacific.
I love the 11:30.
It's so nice.
I love the 11:30 shows. They're so great.
Well, they've done 3 in a row now too offhand, and it's I'm getting used to it, and I'm I don't know. I didn't get to watch this one live, unfortunately, because I was stuck watching the UFC last night. But my heart was there.
So today's Korakuen actually only did 471. Okay, so that's actually that's about what that's the same thing. The Tuesday one did 470. The Monday one I think was the big. Yeah, the Monday one did 396, and then last Sunday, let's see if it ever loads. Last Sunday did 694. So okay, so basically, I think people blew off these Korakuens because the Oda War Gym show that we're going to talk about, that did 1,325, which was a sellout. So that was like the capacity of the Oda War Gym right now, apparently. So it feels like people just decided to go. I mean, Oda Ward is not, it's far enough to the west that like you're probably drawing some fans like locally that don't want to go all the way to Korakuen too. But like, there's probably some fans in the Tokyo area that were like, well, I'll go to the first Korakuen and then I'll go to the big Oda War Gym show, but then I can blow off the rest of these Korakuens with identical cards. But yeah, today's show was actually, I think, the best of the tour so far. So, that is, I guess it's unfortunate that not a ton of people showed up for that. But yeah, the All Japan Korakuen today on the 24th, that did, strong number here, 667. So people did show up here for the Triple Crown title match and the other big matches. So we'll start the main event and work our way down since, the most interesting stuff here was definitely at the top of the card. The main event, of course, was Suwama with his 5th successful defense of the Triple Crown title, defeating Shotaro Ashino in 26-41 with a backdrop hold. I guess before we get into the match, Joey, I guess going in here, did you think Ashino had a chance, or did you think Suwama was going to retain here?
To be honest, I thought Ashino was taking the belt. He's coming back for his second challenge against Suwama, and I just had it in my brain. It's like, what else? Like all gripes aside, in terms of All Japan booking, it's not like Suwama's like these are all just stinkers that he's having in these defenses. Like, they're actually good to great matches. But it just feels like it's somebody else's time now, and I don't. Would you agree with that sentiment?
Yeah. So going into the match, I was really 50-50 on who was going to win. I kind of thought probably Suwama was going to retain because, I don't know, like Ashino, like the Voice of Wrestling Twitter account made this point. Like, Ashino did not feel like a hot challenger here. Like, he did not feel like he had been built up to take the belt from Suwama. They could have been like, oh, it's going to be an out of nowhere title change. That would have been possible.
Yeah.
But it just didn't feel like he was built up here to win the title. And it felt like more like they were running back a match that, they last ran in front of no fans and, letting it happen in front of fans and see if they could draw a decent number, which they did. So, I mean, good on them for that. But yeah, I would agree that Suwama. I mean, he had a kind of poor champion carnival, but so did everybody else. And that was a big problem with All Japan's 2020. And I think the promotion got a lot of derision during the second half of the year, especially. Like people really kind of seemed pretty fed up with them. And I think they're off to a better start in 2021. I mean, this is like you said, Suwama has been having good to great title defenses. I think especially this month. I really love both his defenses here against Aoyagi and now against Ashino. So yeah, I think he's off to a good start, but it definitely does feel like this reign is more than a little long in the tooth. Like I think most people expected it to be a kind of a shorter transition reign, and instead, we're going up on a year now. With him, like when did he win the title again? It was like March, right? March. Yeah, so we're coming.
He beat Miyahara. March 20.
So we're coming up on. We're 2 months away exactly.
A full year. Yeah,
so that is kind of crazy.
Do you think he's just a placeholder until, like Nomura, like until they know if Naoya can come back, or do you think they're just cooling down Jake Lee again until the spring, and then he can?
Yeah,
I have no idea. I'm not good with this type of stuff with the booking predictions, but I don't know who else they could really throw at him realistically. At this point.
I really have no idea where they're going, and it makes me wonder. Like the Zeus champion carnival win felt like nothing, especially when he went on to lose his Shadow Challenge. So it really makes me wonder if maybe Jake Lee wasn't supposed to win the champion carnival last year and then go on to beat Suwama pretty quickly, but maybe they decided, let's wait a little while longer and see, or Nomura, or he brought up Nomura because they didn't know he was going to get hurt, obviously. Maybe they just decided, well, let's wait and see if more fans can come back before we do like Suwama easily could have been people thought the evil thing was like a COVID related thing, which I don't think it was at all. Whereas this, I do kind of buy the idea that like Suwama was not supposed to be champion for a fucking year or whatever it's going to end up being, and it just ended up being kind of a thing where it's like, well, he's perfectly fine as champion. Let's just let him keep the belt during this really uncertain time where we can't run anything close to full buildings anyway. Because I mean, Champion Carnival especially felt like a test pattern. Like that felt like them saying, this is all we're willing to do as a Champion Carnival during this pandemic. So there's no way the original Champion Carnival idea for 2020 was, Zeus squeezing people's heads with his rest hold. And there's no way that was the idea. So the match itself though here I thought was awesome. I mean, I'm pretty high on this match. I thought this was quite a really great match. I don't know if you agree or not, but I really dug it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I thought this match was fantastic in terms of limb work and just selling. There was consistency throughout the entire match from both guys in terms of selling the targeted body parts. And whenever there's something like that you can sink your teeth into, aside from it just being a title match, I don't know. I love that stuff. It's kind of, I feel like I listened to you talk about the 2012 Naito Okada IWGP match from Korakuen on a recent episode, and this match kind of reminded me of that because it's just literally they're just targeting the back and the knee and the ankle, and they stuck to that pretty much the entire match, and it was I just love matches like that.
It's really strong psychology. And there was like some nice grappling to start early on, like where they were doing all the like the takedowns and the blocks and stuff that I liked. And then if there was a flaw, I would say maybe Ashino's work on Suwama's leg, which made sense, was maybe not the most interesting leg work I've ever seen. He just kind of laid on him. I mean, decent selling
a couple times.
Decent selling from Suwama, but a little slow. So I would say that was probably a thing there. But it when it builds to a spot that's as good as the ankle lock tease was, I can overlook that kind of thing because it builds. They build it for a while. Ashino and Suwama go back and forth. And they, Suwama gets his own ankle lock, which was pretty surprising. That was an interesting little wrinkle to it too. But then, when Ashino gets out and reapplies his ankle lock, that's where like there's a lot of drama that Suwama might actually tap, and they really did a great job at that with like Suwama, reaching at the ref and like just acting like he's going to tap any second. And they like, I don't know if you watched this unspoiled. I definitely did. Obviously, I was watching it live. Did you see? Were you spoiled already when you were watching it or no?
I tried to scroll through Twitter spoilers, but I wasn't successful. So I was like half spoiled. Like I kind of got the impression that Suwama retained, but I didn't know for sure until I saw
it. I've had a million matches like that over the years. Yeah, it's true. Like we think you probably saw something, but you're not. You didn't double check to make sure. So
yeah, you try to scroll past it as fast as possible, but erase it from your brain.
Yeah, like the actual this tease really got me watching it live. Where I'm like, oh my god, he's actually going to tap out here. But Suwama did make the rope, so that was great. So it built to a really great spot. And then Ashino, he was really pissed and pounded the map, and then he quickly goes back to his German suplex, which he tried repeatedly to get that on Suwama earlier too. And then when he finally got that, that felt like a big deal in the match, and that got a 2 count. And then he goes to this moonsault off the top, which looked great, but Suwama rolled out of the way.
Beautiful moonsault,
and Ashino ate shit on it too, like just really ate shit on it. And that that this is where my notes just say, it took a little bit to get going, but at this point, this is an awesome match. And Suwama, blocks Ashino running in on him, like captures both arms for a really nice capture belly to belly, and then he hits 2 straight backdrop suplexes, and enziguri, and then a third backdrop. But Ashino still kicks out at 2. And then Suwama just kind of says, the finish was very decisive here. Where, like, there was no back and forth at this point. Like, Suwama just hits a huge axe bomber, another backdrop with the bridge, and that gets the pin. So, yeah, I went 4 1/4 on this. So I didn't like it quite as much as the Aoyagi match, which I went 4.5 on. Because, again, this took a little bit to get going. But, man, did it roll once it got there. So, definitely an awesome main event here. Very, very highly recommended. Super hot closing stretch. And, without, like, going to the kind of cliche, like, back and forth stuff. It just was much more like, and if you want to point to another flaw in the match, maybe, other than that ankle lock spot, like, once Suwama made the ropes on the ankle lock, I was like, okay, well, Suwama's winning this now. Because it definitely felt like, watching it live, like, Ashino had taken so much of the match that by the time Suwama made the ropes, it was like, well, if Suwama doesn't get a big comeback and win here, it's almost like he got squashed by Ashino, and that's exactly what happened. He got all of his offense in right at the end. But I don't mind them. I mean, so many wrestling matches nowadays are like, just trading moves for the last 10 minutes that, like, I really don't mind when they do a different, a different layout like they did here. So a more old school layout, if anything.
Yeah, definitely. It harkens back to like the older finishes and it is a breath of fresh air instead of just your standard, like you said, trading back and forth move, and then whoever comes out on top at the end. This is as a very decisive finish that Suwama got his ass kicked, and then he not so much just like said, what, this is it. I'm done with this bullshit. Like I'm ready to finish this. But like he found his opening and capitalized, and it was a really, really great match. I really enjoyed it.
Now, as far as what it means for Ashino and Enfon, so I totally get if those people are like, if you're like an Enfon super fan, like friend of the show TJ is, who's been on the show a million times. I totally get it. Like, you must be really pissed right now, and just to see your guy job again here to Suwama, clean as a sheet, and I mean, their booking of the Enfants guys has been pretty terrible. I mean, there's no positive way to spin it. I mean, just the fact that Ashino would have felt like, that it was out of nowhere if he had won this match, says it all, basically.
So at the end of this match, when after they pay their respects to each other, and Ashino walks to the back, and the crowd gives him a clapping ovation, I guess. I don't know. Enfants is all lined up by the curtain, and they just watch him go to the back, and they're just I kind of interpreted that as there's possible dissension as him being the leader of Enfants and being a weak link almost, and I'm very interested to see where they go with that. And all they did for that I don't. They may have done other things throughout the tour, but this is all I've seen. Them just silently watching him walk past them, and you could just tell they all had this like judgmental, just kind of look on their face. It plants some seeds there. It's very interesting.
I mean, that would be about the best. I mean, that would really be what you have to do if you want to rebuild Ashino as a main eventer now. I mean, you would need to turn him, him face and break him off. Yeah. I mean, like Koji Doi, I think is more than capable of serving as a heel leader, especially for if they're really just going to be a mid card heel unit. I mean, I think he's perfectly capable to serve as a leader.
Yeah, and Kumarashi's great too in that role. I mean, he's more of I would also agree that Koji Doi would be a better leader, but I mean, as the heavy, like Kuma's freaking awesome. So
I mean, I love all those guys. So like Kodama, they could be doing way more with. But yeah, it is, this is why like when people said, they wanted WrestleOne to die to see these guys go other places. It's like, well, they will go other places, but the other side of that is they're never going to get pushed as hard as they would have in WrestleOne continuing. I mean, other promotions want to push their own guys. I mean, they don't want to push these guys, who came from the outside. I mean, it's just how it is. When people wish death on these Japanese promotions, I mean, like, like consolidation can be good, I guess, but like, what the fuck is Daiki Inaba doing lately? Like all these guys, it's like you see them in other promotions, but like other promotions only have so much room at the top of their own cards. I mean, and they're going to prioritize their own guys. So, that's the other side of that.
I'm a huge defender of Big Japan, and I do not want them to die.
Yeah, I don't. When people say they want Big Japan,
WH Park always gives me.
I don't really get it because it's like if Big Japan dies, it's like what other promotion on earth is going to give you that mix of like strong and death match? I mean, there's nothing. I mean, it's just not going to exist anymore. I mean, Big Japan is not always the most interesting or fun promotion out there, but it definitely goes in waves. But I don't get one of them to die. I mean, it's really weird.
No, it's the unique blend of what they present is what's so great about them, and it's an acquired taste, or it's not for everybody either. So, but I don't know. I agree. I can't wish death upon any promotions really, unless there's some like really scummy bullshit going on backstage.
Yeah, can wish death on WWE.
That's condemnable. Yeah, exactly. WWE could go die.
Match number 6, the semi-main event, was Koji Iwamoto defending the All Japan World Junior title against Fuminori Abe in 13:37. He makes his 4th successful defense. So this was the kind of match that's really good that I was also disappointed by. Because, I don't know, like when I saw these two names on paper, I would have thought it would go a little higher on the rating. But when I think about it, like Iwamoto in singles matches for me always kind of has a ceiling. And it's kind of 3 3/4 for me. That seems to be what I always give his big matches. And that's exactly where I landed here. And it's just very like, I don't know, there's something about him where like, he's a technically good wrestler. Like he executes his moves really well.
Sure.
But like he leaves me a little cold with both his selling and his in-ring charisma, and like there's something about him that always struggles to connect with me at a certain level. So I mean, I love Abe though, so I guess that's probably why I thought was even more excited for this one. I mean, it still ended up being really good. I mean, they did a lot of good mat work. Abe, nearly got a tap out, 5 minutes into the match before Iwamoto made the ropes, which was a cool little spot. And he was like unloading on Iwamoto with these really hard slaps and punches, and like caught his leg when Iwamoto tried to counter with his delayed knee that he does, and like delivered this really nice dragon screw. And they both went back and forth, like a lot of strikes and throws down the stretch until Iwamoto finally got the pin with whatever that judo throw of his is called. People made fun of me for this before, for not knowing the name of this judo throw, but I'm not a judo person. What do you want me to tell you? But whatever it's called,
we all know what you're talking
about. If you
the Koji Iwamoto
exactly. But yeah, so 3 3/4. I mean, I would have liked to see it maybe go a little longer. Especially on a show that's like as shallow as this one with so few other big matches. 13.5 minutes isn't like, I guess, super short, but they could have gone like between 15 and 20 for sure.
I would have not been upset with another 5 minutes and let things sink in, because they were just, if there's anything I could say about this match, it was just that it was completely back and forth the entire match, and they didn't really stop to like let anything sink in or breathe. It was just like boom, 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 boom for the entire match.
But it was good. I mean, 3 and 3/4 is still really good, but a little disappointing compared to what I was expecting.
Yeah, I was hoping for more out of these guys as well. That Real World Tag League final. Like I've been a fan of Iwamoto since he started really showing out in All Japan, but that Real World Tag League final last year was. I just thought he came off like a killer in that one. And
that was him and Jake Lee against Kento and Aoyagi, right? Yeah, that match was awesome. I think it went like 4.5 on it. Yeah, that match ruled, and I was hoping we would get that Koji Iwamoto, where he just kind of went kind of Takuya Nomura-ish, where he's just like blank faced and like Ibushi too, where he's just like, I'm tired of this BS. I'm just gonna beat the shit out of you now, kind of thing. But hey, maybe they had like their sign of respect where they kind of, broed out at the end of the match and shook hands and showed each other respect. And hopefully we get an extended version of this at some point, maybe in the junior tournament. I mean, I will say, to me, Iwamoto is a classic guy that works better in tags. Where like all my favorite matches are all these tags. I think where like he gets in, does his spots, and gets out, and he's like comes off like you said like a killer. We forgot to mention, by the way, after the main event, Kohei Sato walked out as the next challenger for Suwama, which was a night of big challenges, which we'll get to with the junior title in a second too. I don't know how you feel about Kohei Sato. He's a guy that I've always kind of been a little bit of a mark for. Like I really liked his stuff in 0-1 whenever I saw it. Like there's a match he has against from like he's been doing this forever now. I mean it's a match he covered on a 5 matches episode with him and Nakamura from like 2009 during that New Japan 0-1 feud at the time. That's fucking awesome. And Sato, I mean he's my kind of wrestler where like he'll laugh in your face while he like beats the shit out of you. He's like one of the stiffest guys, even for Japanese wrestling, which is saying something. And I love him, so I definitely support him challenging Suwama. I saw some people groaning, like, "Oh, 2 more old guys in another Triple Crown title match." And it's true, Kohei Sato is pretty fucking old at this point. I think he's like 40, 43, exactly right. So, I mean, he's definitely on the older side. He's been around the block a while. But as far as like, but he's like, even beyond his age, he's completely fresh to All Japan. I mean, he just walked out of 0-1 late last year. So we're really seeing him as an All Japan guy, or at least a freelancer doing All Japan for the first time, in forever. And I think he's probably made appearances over the years, but nothing, that regular. So, it's really cool to see him challenge Suwama. I'm definitely into that match. We don't have a date for that yet, but that'll be really, really cool to see.
I'm excited for it. I'm a fan of Kohei as well, and all of his chain smoking and his cats, and
I wonder,
just the style.
I wonder if he's ever challenged for the title before. Let's check real quick. Just kind of curious.
He's right up my alley though, and I it's obvious that it's like Shuji Ishikawa. Like putting a good word in.
Yeah. So if Cage match is to be believed, he's never even challenged for the Triple Crown before. So that's really cool. Yeah, I mean he's obviously held the 0-1 World Heavyweight title a whole bunch of times, 6 times total. So he's no stranger to world titles. He also held the Big Japan Strong title briefly in 2019.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. It was only a couple years ago.
So those are like the 2 biggest titles he's held. It seems like a million tag titles and stuff. And 0-1. He held the All Asia tag titles in 2003. Wow. That was like his very first title. So him with Hirotaka Yokai. I don't even know who that is. So
yeah, me neither.
But yeah, so that was his first title, the All Asia tag titles. But yes, so he's the next challenger. Now, interesting idea. Could you see him winning?
Ooh,
It would be really cool on one hand to see an outsider champion. They haven't had one, in a while. On the other hand, I think people would flip the fuck out because it's like you have this probably 11th month or even 1 year long Suwama reign, by the time it ends, and you used to put over a 43-year-old Kohei Sato. Like people would have Shuji Ishikawa's head on a pike for that one, especially since we all know it's his buddy. But yeah, that'd be something.
Yeah, especially with the VTR for this Triple Crown match with Ashino and Suwama. Like they were, with my limited Japanese, they were really stressing like the new generation, like the Shin Jidai. And it's like they got like Jake and Kento and Aoyagi and Ashino kind of showing up in this VTR as like the new generation, and Suwama's kind of like the last warrior of like the previous, and then it's like, oh, like no, not the new generation's not going to get the Triple Crown. It's going to be Kohei Sato.
I think people would melt down, and I would be. It's one of these things where like I would be into it and also understand why people would melt down, because it's like
yeah, no, I totally get that.
But
yeah, and it probably wouldn't help their drawing power, to be honest. Like it would be fun to watch. I agree, but I don't think they'd be feeling Korakuen as well as they have recently.
My official prediction is Suwama wins, but for all the reasons we laid out. But yeah, that would be something. So it'll be. I think it'll be really good. I'm really excited. The junior title, meanwhile, after Iwamoto retained, the lights went out and Shiba's music played, and we got a video message with him challenging Iwamoto for a future title match. Also, no date yet for that. Yeah, that's something. I mean, I kind of think Shima could win that. Unlike Sato, I kind of think Shima could win. But
yeah, it seems like him and the rest of T-Hawk and Linda have been showing up more often in All Japan recently, and I think was it the 12-13 fan appreciation Korakuen show where it was Suwama, Shima, and Kento that tagged together. I think after that match, Shima got on the mic and like pretty much said Strong Hearts is coming to All Japan next year. So I hope that happens, and honestly, I hope Iwamoto beats Shima, and then we get like Shima then pivots to T-Hawk or Linda for a title defense or to set up a title match against Iwamoto.
Can T-Hawk challenge for the junior title, or isn't he too big? Yeah.
Who's T-Hawk? You'd probably know better than me, but if that's the case,
what is T-Hawk's weight listed as? I mean, he's listed at. Oh no, I guess he could do it. He's 86 kilos, 190 pounds. Let's see what the All Japan Junior. Yeah. I mean, they could do whatever they want, I guess, but I don't know if they would consider him a junior, but I guess they could do it. Let's say that the weight limit for this is.
I feel like Iwamoto could have
220 pounds, 100 kilograms. So yeah, he would just fit under there by quite a bit actually. So never mind what I said. In my head, T-Hawk is not a junior, but.
And that's because he's always standing next to Linda, and he's got like 6 inches on him. So.
But he's only like 5'9". He's not like that tall. It's just he was in Dragon Gate. He looks like he's a fucking giant next to some of those guys.
Yeah,
so,
he really does.
He's not.
I've been watching some 2012 Dragon Gate recently, and I caught up to King of Chop, and so he's all over that, and I'm just like, man, this guy, like I knew he was good, but like I wish there was somewhere he could land in 2021 where he could really just blow up, and maybe all the fans that place. I kept thinking because we just.
I kept thinking it was going to be DDT, especially after he and Linda Man were so awesome in the King of DDT tournament last year, but it did not happen. So, I mean, DDT has so many guys anyway that I guess it's tough to find him a regular spot.
For sure, but I am excited to see Iwamoto versus any of those guys, and specifically Shima too. Like I'm looking forward to that.
So there you go. That's the junior title stuff. Then we have the third and final title match here. Well, the first of the 3 on the card. Jun Kasai defends the Giora TV title in a hardcore match against Black Mensa Ray in 12:41 with a vertical drop type reverse tiger driver, according to the All Japan site. Just kind of looks like a pedigree to me, but whatever. But yeah, I mean, this was one of the kind of match that, like, there are some people that do not want to see this stuff in All Japan at all. And I get it. I mean, this is, it is Zen Nihon. I get all that. But like, if you're willing to have this, first of all, it's for the Giora TV title, which is a belt that no one on earth has ever given a shit about. So it's not like he's doing this for the Triple Crown. So I don't really have a problem with that part of it. Second of all, this was a fun match. I mean, I thought this was like it's not like a fucking Matt classic or anything, but I went like 3.5 stars on it. I thought it was good. And after sitting through the first 4 tags that were nothing, I was like, well, at least we had something to bite your teeth into here. I mean,
Yeah.
Menso Ray, he's obviously a kind of a comedy gimmick, but like at least he's funny. So like his theme song, which is this weird remix of Shots by LMFAO. I always forget what it is until it starts playing, and it always cracks me up. And the theme song is because obviously it sounds like they're saying Sha, which is his snake sound. But yeah, the probably the funniest part of the entire match was Menso choking Jun Kasai over the ropes with what appeared to be a garden hose while yelling Sha, like in one big like Sha. That's one of those things that will stick with me for a while. And then at one point, Jun Kasai pulls the poor snake man's mask off and gets out the skewers, and he just stabs this man in the head. Of course, first of all, it's shocking that he would reveal Black Menzo Ray's very secret identity here. So that's
oh my god. I couldn't believe it was Yohei Nakajima underneath the mask.
Just a shocking lack of respect here by Jun Kasai doing this unmasking. But yeah, this was pretty fun. I thought, definitely the best thing on the show up to this point. After the 4 tags we're about to talk about that were nothing. So I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it as well. I thought it was a lot of fun. I was going into it thinking Kasai was just going to beat the hell out of Mensure, and then he, kept kicking out at 2.9 and putting up a fight and the skewer spot. Like, I thought it was pretty funny. Kasai tried to jam the skewers through the mask with the mask on, and then that didn't work, so he ripped the mask off and then did the skewer thing. But besides, like, my only issue, and this is not related to All Japan at all, it's just like I've seen it so much within such a short period of time. I'm kind of over people ripping masks off of guys right now. I mean, we've had Desperado, Dragon Kid. I don't even know why I know this, but TJP had his mask ripped off, or he tore it off at the last big Impact show. And then now this, and I'm just like, come on, can we just like return to some decorum here, like with masked wrestlers? Like, can we cool it? At least space it out like every 3 months or something. But it's like within the last month, I've seen it 4 times. It's like, ugh. But in terms of the match, I really enjoyed it.
Then Shuji Ishikawa walks out to be the next challenger in a death match, which the crowd reacts huge for that. I mean, look, if you don't know the history of Shuji Ishikawa in death matches, he held the deathmatch heavyweight title for all of 2013, practically, in Big Japan, and that's where all those scars on his body comes from, and it's some of the most memorable death matches of all time. And then when he lost that title, he was like, he retired from death matches. He's like, I'm not doing death matches, ever again, basically. And he might have done like some tags or something after that, but I think for the most part, he's really stuck to that. So to have him walk out here and be like, death match for the Gaora TV title of all things, that is crazy. So again, no date on that either, just like the other 2 they set up here. But I can't wait for that. That's going to be nuts. So,
I can't even, like, my brain can't comprehend seeing the blue All Japan canvas with light tubes like wrapped around the ring, like on the ropes. I'm just like, what is this? And I'm a deathmatch fan, and I'm looking forward to it. But I can't wait to have that visual. I know there's tons of people that that hate it and will despise it, but like personally, I'm pumped for it. And also, like you said, like seeing those 2 go at it in the deathmatch, like that means a lot to whoever's followed both of these guys' careers, and I'm sure they're gonna freaking kill it. But
I mean, look, the fans there seemed excited, so I don't know. Like, look, I get it with all this stuff where people are like, angry about it, but it's like, this is not this is barely the same company that it was in 1995. Like, they have to do something to, some different things to stand out. I mean, look, if you really look at it, like, the way Japanese wrestling has gone in the past 20 plus years, I mean, who is the continuation of All Japan and like what they were doing? It's New Japan. I mean, New Japan completely went away from the historical basis of the promotion, which was the the strong style, the fit.
They went to They're basically
they do
Road
King's
now.
Road. That's the point.
Over there.
I've made that point a million times, but yes, they basically took All Japan style, the '90s All Japan style, and that's what they are now. Is a continuation of that. They really have almost no connection to their historical strong style of like, which was kind of like fake MMA, basically. I mean, especially if you go back, I mean, I've been watching a lot of these older New Japan stuff. There's a lot of like the very first Tokyo Dome main event is like a worked MMA match with like Inoki and this giant Georgian judoka. They don't do anything like that anymore. So New Japan, does the historical style of All Japan. Noah, in some ways, kind of does the historical style of New Japan. With like at least with like the kicks and like the really intense striking, and they have a few guys like they use Fujita, who was around in the Inokiism days, and they use Hideki Suzuki sometimes. So they're probably the closest thing to a continuation of that style. And that leaves All Japan, but like, well, what the fuck's our niche, right? I mean, so this is the kind of
Kento's main events.
I mean, this is the kind of thing they have to do to get some attention. I mean, I kind of understand it. It's barely the same company. I mean, it has the same color mat, but that's really about it. So,
yeah, and I mean, like you said, like the Gaora title really means nothing to anybody, and it hasn't. And at least this is elevating it to actually like it's at least getting people to tune in to see out of interest what the heck is going on with Jude Kasai and this belt.
I mean, Yoshitatsu had this belt before that. I mean, Sushi had it.
Yeah,
Sushi had it for a long time. I mean, like, who gives a shit? So at least they're doing something different with it. I mean, I did say on Twitter, like, Jun Kasai versus Shuji Ishikawa in All Japan in a death match for the Gaora TV title. It sounds like wrestling Mad Libs. I mean, it really does. Like, it sounds like you're just putting things in. But it is funny, and I can't...
I'm going to have to go find that.
Interesting to see. Like, it really does sound like wrestling Mad Libs. Match number 4 on this show was an 8-man tag team match. The team of the Enfants, Koji Doi, Kuma Arashi, Hokuto Omori, and Yusuke Kodama. They beat the team of Kento Miyahara, Yuma Aoyagi, Atsuki Aoyagi, and Rising Hayato. That went, let's see, only 7 minutes and 16 seconds, so very quick. Omori pinned Aoyagi. This was every undercard tag on this show, but probably the best one. But perfectly fine, utterly forgettable, very short. I went 3 stars because the action was fun while it lasted, but there really was not much to it at all. And then Enfants got to stand tall here, which I wrote at the time. May or may not be good for Ashino in the main event. It turned out to not be good. And Omori, I think, I mean, you know more Japanese than I do, I think. He was like taunting Yuma about pinning his brother after the match, I think. Omori, I think, was taunting Yuma Aoyagi about pinning his brother, I think.
Oh, yeah, something like that. That would make sense. My Japanese is pretty bad at this point, but
I always say 3rd grade level. That's about where I'm at. But yeah. I think that's what I got out of it. I think he was taunting Yuma about pinning his brother. But Omori's an interesting guy because he was an All Japan raised guy who joined the Enfants. But I don't know.
Yeah, I really like him too. He reminds me of just aesthetically. He reminds me of like a 2008, 2009 Yamato. And, I think it's just like the little ring skirts that he comes out with. That very much aesthetically looks like Yamato, but he's got a similar look. But I just really like his. He's got a lot of charisma for a young kid.
So we'll see where that goes. Yeah. Match 3: Shuji Ishikawa, Kohei Sato, and Ryuki Honda defeating Yoshitatsu, Ryuji Sai, and Chikara. Sato pinning Chikara in 7:35 with the drill a hole pile driver. Sato gets the pin here. That makes sense because he was going to walk out to challenge in the main event. Some nice kicks from Sai on Honda. That was my early highlight. Chikara, still pretty bad. He somehow made a top rope chop look like shit. But then he gets cut off and double teamed by the Ishikawa side and then pinned fairly quickly by Sato with a pile driver. I mean, the thing people don't get with Chikara is he's like being bad is kind of his gimmick. I mean, it's really not something he's he's trying. I don't know if he's trying to be bad, but they definitely have leaned into it. Like at this point, if you're still waiting for him to be some kind of great wrestler because of his family lineage. I don't think you're going to see that ever. But yeah.
But he's not like, if I see him on the first like third of or half of the card, and he's more often than not taking the fall, I'm not gonna turn off the show because Chikara is booked. You know, he's fine for what he is. You know, he's
yeah.
Holy cow! His kid's gonna start wrestling soon.
He's what, Ricky Dawson's grandson, right? I think, or is it great grandson?
Is it? I think it's great grandson,
right? But
he's Mitsuo Momota's son.
I thought Mitsuo Momota. Yeah. Okay, so his grandson, because Momota is definitely Ricky Dawson's son. Yeah, so grandson.
Yes. Okay.
But yeah, because Momota was also known as Ricky Dawson Jr. So, Mitsuo
I didn't know
Momota's
that.
son. But yeah, I mean, like I said, if you're waiting for Chikara to be, some kind of great wrestler, I think the ship has sailed on that one. But he only started in 2013. Wow, you would think he would have been around longer than that. But that's just kind of interesting, I guess. But yeah, I mean, last year he's very much a part-time guy. I mean, to give you an idea, he worked 12 matches for Freedoms, 10 matches for All Japan, 4 for DDT, 4 for that PPP Tokyo thing that's like very tiny indie, 3 for the Pro Wrestling A Team, like the Apache thing, and then the 1 for something called the Kira Tayo Project. I could not tell you what the fuck that is. So
very, very notable bookings that fans should really get upset about.
Taka Michinoku wrestle the main event for whatever that is. The Kira Tayo Project. So that's like the only name on this card I recognize other than Chikara. But there you go. But yes, that's I mean, Chikara, like you said, his gimmick is he's supposed to be bad. People get really mad about him for some reason, and it's like, I mean, he just kind of sucks. I mean, there's no point in getting mad about it. And the gimmick is that Yoshitatsu, of all people, berates him after his loss and like slaps him to motivate him. And it's like when Yoshitatsu is telling you suck. I mean, it's something. Yeah, that was a pretty funny post match. Which again, I tweeted about that. I made like a joke about Yoshitatsu berating him, and people thought I was making a joke about berating the wrestling promotion. I'm like, no, there's a wrestler named Chikara in All Japan, not the like. At this point, I thought Chikara the promotion was so irrelevant. I mean, it doesn't even exist anymore. I don't think so. I thought that people wouldn't think I was tweeting about that, but I guess people still don't know who Chikara is. So I had to. Yeah, I knew to be more specific.
Side note, the only time I've ever seen Chikara wrestle live, I think we were at the show together, and it was Tokyo Budokai show main evented by.
Every day, people experience mysteries that challenge the laws of nature, like enjoying a Coke Zero Sugar. It looks, sounds, and tastes delicious. But how does one explain the great taste if there are 0 calories and 0 sugar? Some mysteries are just too mysterious. Coca-Cola Zero Sugar. Unbelievably delicious.
No TV binging session is complete without the unbelievably delicious 0-calorie taste of Coke Zero Sugar.
We're always driving to dance lessons. So we signed up for Know Your Drive. We save money and get closer to her dancing dreams.
The daring young man on the flying trapeze.
Or maybe her singing dreams. Sign up for Know Your Drive and save up to 20%. American Family Insurance. Insure carefully, dream fearlessly.
Products not available in every state. Discount terms apply. Visit amfam.com/knowyourdrive for details. American Family Mutual Insurance Company, SI, and its operating company, 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin.
It was Mochizuki and Minoru Tanaka, but I forgot the match. Chikara was it was a tag match. He tagged with his dad against Kaz Hayashi and Shima, which I'm just like, who in their right mind? Oh wait, of course, Nosawa Rongai would put Shima and Kaz Hayashi up against Chikara and Mitsuo Momota.
That show was incredible.
For crying out, I can't believe
that show was incredible. I mean, that was in Shinjuku Face, first of all, which is an awesome venue, and that show also had Kazunori Murakami on it, and he walked right in front of me, directly in front of my person, was kicking the shit out of somebody. I don't remember who the fuck he was facing, and like these kicks were like so brutal. I'm like, oh, this man looks like a murderer. Like he looks like he could murder me right now if he wanted to. So it was
It was him and Yuji Hino against Hideki Suzuki and Tomohiko Hashimoto.
That was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I have that show somewhere on a hard drive.
Yeah, please send it to me because I would love to relive that.
Yeah,
we should do like a retro review. Match number 2, which was a 6-man tag team match. Hikaru Sato, Dan Tamura, and Rambo Kawamura defeating the team of Takao Omori, Carbell Ito, and Alejandro in 8:02. Sato submitting Omori with the cross arm breaker. That was pretty shocking. I mean, when's the last time a junior heavyweight submitted a heavyweight? I mean, let alone, Omori's kind of a legend at this point. So that was a pretty nuts finish in a otherwise, nothing match. I think I forgot to mention for match 3, if you're dying to know my star rating for that 6-man, I went 2 3/4. It was fine. This one here, this was a lot about the Kawamura comedy. I mean, he had a machine gun, and there were machine gun sound effects for the gun. His partners did helpfully take it away from him when he tried to use it in the actual match to seemingly prevent any fatalities, but that he pulled out a knife. But yeah, I mean, it was kind of the highlight. I went 2.5. It was perfectly average. I don't know. Don't really have anything to say about it.
Yeah, I don't have much to say. I would like to see a Rambo Kawamura match against Takayuki Ueki. See who would win in a
gunfight.
Face off of. I mean, they both. Yeah, it'd be a gunfight. Essentially.
Match. The opener here was another 6-man tag team match. Zeus, Izanagi, and Utamaro defeating Jake Lee, Tajiri, and Francesco Akira. 6:22. Zeus pins Akira with a choke slam. Another perfectly fine tag match. Izanagi. There was a negative highlight early on where Izanagi weirdly really screwed up a pretty simple arm drag sequence for Tajiri at the start. He barely got over for one of the arm drags.
So you saw that as Izanagi not flipping for Tajiri. I interpreted it as Tajiri not aiding Izanagi, but I know the spot you're talking about. It caught me off guard too. I was like, wow, that's pretty rough to mess up an arm drag.
I mean, other than that, I thought it was pretty good match. I mean, I guess I deducted a quarter star, so 2 3/4, but not a lot else to say about it. Just pretty standard stuff here. That's why we start with the main events first, because I really don't have anything to say about these opening tags.
Yeah, definitely.
So that'll do it for this Korakuen. I would say, a pretty typical All Japan Korakuen where if you haven't watched this and you haven't listened to if you haven't watched it as you're listening to this, you could definitely skip matches 1 through 4. I mean, there's just nothing there you need to see. But the last 3 matches are all pretty much worth your time. And, I would have to call it a mild thumbs up show. Especially the main event. I mean, really, if you're really pressed for time, I think you could skip the other 2 title matches and just watch the main event. But the main event is highly recommended. I had a theory I was batting around in the Voice Wrestling Slack last night that I think one of the reasons why people are so down on All Japan nowadays is because they haven't run anything resembling a real supercard in a million years, it feels like. And they have all these Korakuens where, you have one big match or at most 2 or I really struggle to call that third one. Or TV title a big match. I mean, it's really 2 big matches here. And then a whole bunch of undercard stuff that, means very little. And, these shows are fine to good. I would even call this one good. But, at the end of the day, you got to do some cards where, you give people, 4 matches deep, 5 matches deep. Give people, a big show to sink their teeth into. They don't do that anymore. They really haven't done that. I mean, the last one I can think of was, the 2018 Sumo Hall show or something? Did they even run Sumo? They ran Sumo Hall in 2018, right? I think that was the last one.
It was either late 2017 or early 2018, but yeah. And then because they ran it 2 times, within a year, if I remember correctly. But yeah, besides, I think once Yokohama Bunko went out, they kind of just scrapped the idea of running big shows, which kind of stinks because I feel like they've got some steam and they could really do something now, especially with not to say they're capitalizing on the pandemic, but with these half capacity buildings, I'm everybody else is getting these big buildings at what I would imagine are pretty good rates. So they're Why not book Sumo Hall and build to it, or even the new Yokohama what is it, the new Yokohama Budokan, or just something like mid-level but not huge.
So like so I was a little off. The last Sumo Hall show was August 2017, so it's been a really long time. And like these Yokohama Bunka shows, I'm looking at them now. They have not even ran one of these in a while. The last one they ran, it looks like, was February 2019. But even that was like really like 4 matches deep, kind of. I mean, you had Kento versus Suwama.
Yeah.
You had Strong BJ against Sweeper for the tag titles. You had Seki Yoshioka against Koji Iwamoto in the Battle of Glory finals. Then you had a random Dylan James versus Nomura singles match, which, I mean, that's something. It's better than a tag, but it's not like a big match. And then you had 4 undercard tags. So, I mean, I don't know if I would even call that like a super card, you know?
That's basically what it's basically the same layout as the show.
Yeah, very close. Reviewed. I mean, maybe one more match. Yeah. And like, again, these other ones I'm looking at, again, like maybe you get 3 to 4 matches deep. And even here, the 4th one on this October 2018 is Tajiri versus Chikara for the Gaora TV title. I mean, they're just not running, they have not run these like super card level shows that feel like a big deal the way even like, obviously New Japan does it, but DDT does it, Noah does it. I mean, Noah has Nippon Budokan coming up. I mean, you know, even Big Japan runs like super cards, you know, a couple times a year. You know, they do Sumo Hall, and they do usually like at least one big Yokohama show.
They did the Edeon Arena last November. Like, there was only 1,000 people in the building, but that in these times, and like just given, you know, where they're at in like the hierarchy of Japanese pro wrestling, that was a good turnout for them. And I think All Japan, even if they were in Osaka, they could probably put more than that in like Edeon Arena proper, not Osaka.
Yeah, and you can't even blame this on COVID because, like I said, they had not run a supercard really since 2017. So, I mean, there's many years here, 2018, 2019, where they weren't, you know, they just weren't doing anything. And I guess, you know, part of it is financial probably. They can't afford to bring in a lot of outsiders to fill out these cards. But, like, I don't know. They really gotta, I mean, they supposedly are on more solid financial ground now thanks to their, you know, their new president and his horror movie investments and stuff. And something where, you know, maybe they do this as like a celebration after COVID ends or something, but they gotta like run something big again to like let people rally around your promotion and, you know, have something big to look forward to. Right now, they just feel like they're on like this endless treadmill, you know? So.
Yeah. Well, and the Suwama reign doesn't really help with that, but maybe like what they need to do is build towards a big show, like you're saying, and build that to be Suwama's title loss against anybody I mean, like, they have plenty of people they can build behind. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah, it's crazy. But yes, so some upcoming matches for All Japan that we have booked already. Like I said, all the ones I have up there are not scheduled yet, so we don't know when those will happen. February 18th in Shinkiba, we get a very interesting singles match. Kento Miyahara one-on-one with Abdullah Kobayashi. Because of course there is a tag title match coming up that we'll talk about. But yeah, that is something. And I mean, what's his name? Jamie from Dramatic DDT, like on Twitter, called it Fire Pro booking, which I can't really disagree.
Yeah, I'm probably an outlier.
Yeah, I enjoy Abby too for what he is.
I mean, I don't go into his matches expecting like a 4-star match. Like, sometimes he might surprise you though, and he might give you a good showing, and then like he's if you know his history and just know what he's put his body through, if you're a deathmatch fan, that means a lot to some people. But like the feud that he's built up with Miyahara, and I mean they're doing it at Shinkiba. I mean, it's not like it's going to be like a highly touted match, but they have this little mini feud that's been pretty entertaining in my opinion. I'm looking forward to that match and seeing what they do with it. I'm sure maybe Kento will bleed a little bit. That'll be interesting.
So that's February 18th at Shinkiba. Also on that show is the second match of Ryuki Honda's trial series against Yoshitatsu. So there you go. The next show that we have a match booked for is only a couple days later, February 20th in Nagoya Congress Center. We have an all Purple Haze, all Asia tag title match. Zeus and Izanagi will make their third defense against Shigehiro Irie and Utamaro. So that'll be interesting. You know, maybe not like a humongous match or anything, but just an interesting one, all in the same unit, you know.
Yeah, stablemates going up against each other for the belt. Yeah,
And then
I'm
a
looking
few days
forward to
after that, February 23rd at Korakuen, so all this stuff is within 5 days of each other, is the World Tag Team titles, Kento Miyahara and Yuma Aoyagi against Daisuke Sekimoto and Abdullah Kobayashi. So there you go. That'll be interesting as well. So that just seeing Sekimoto and Kobayashi challenging for the All Japan titles will be, I don't think they're going to win, but, I guess we'll see. It is the first defense attempt for Miyahara and Aoyagi.
Yes, and it does make sense that Sekimoto and Abby are coming in, considering they beat Aoyagi and Miyahara on the first night of the Real World Tag League last November. So that's a good shout. And then, I mean, people, yeah, I'm coming off like an apologist, but I'm still a big fan of Daisuke. People say he's fallen off, but I still enjoy him, and I love Abby, and I love those guys. So I'm looking forward to this, and I think they'll have a
all right.
Fun
So there's
match.
our All Japan talk. We'll get back to it when we get to the listener questions, because there's a few of them. So let's quickly head over to New Japan now. Which show will probably take a little bit less time to talk about. Not as big of a show, but it was a Road to New Beginning show on January 23rd at the Oda Ward Gym. As we mentioned, it was a sellout of 1,325. I will say right off the bat, I was pretty disappointed in this show. I mean, going in, I thought this card looked just a lot better than, any of these Korakuens, obviously. We're not going to cover the 3 Korakuens that took place. I watched them all. I will just say they're incredibly skippable. I mean, if you don't want... Like, they are perfect if you have... Like, if you're like me and you're working from home and you want to put something on the background that you don't have to concentrate on, they're perfect for that. If you want to sit down and pay close attention to a wrestling show, ain't much there. Now, the Korakuen from today, January 24th, which we're also not going to review because I don't think you watched it at all, and I haven't even finished it yet. I still have the main event to go. That show was actually quite good, and maybe I'll touch on that before we wrap up this segment. But that show I think I prefer to this Oda Ward Gym show, which is surprising because, this show I thought on paper looked really good, but just, a couple things here didn't really deliver, which we'll get to. The main event, start with the main event here, which, ELP, El Phantasmo, and Taiji Ishimori. I don't know why I said Tajiri, I'm sorry. They successfully defeated the team of Kanemaru and El Desperado, ending their junior tag team title reign here on their attempted third defense. So the match went 23-07. ELP pinned Kanemaru with his loaded boot super kick to become the junior tag team champions for the second time. So people on this show, I think, our listeners, know how I feel about ELP. He didn't do much here to change my mind on him. I just, there was good stuff in this match. It just did not involve the seemingly endless heat segment for ELP and Ishimori. It was built around back rakes. ELP did a flipping back rake after walking across, which some people probably think is cute, but is honestly just like boring and stupid to me. And I don't.
It's very like young Bucks from like 2015, 2016.
And like the kind of people who like that shit.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised if they like this too, but he does less than nothing for me. I mean, like, he became a controversial topic in the Voices of Wrestling Slack recently, and like some of that spilled over on the Wrestle Kingdom reviews we did. But I don't know, like people get like, some people get very touchy about ELP and they're like, well, ELP is actually good and you just don't like foreigners in New Japan. And it's like, there's plenty of foreigners in New Japan who I think are awesome right now. I mean, this is probably the most I've loved the current slate of foreigners. I mean, I love Zack Sabre Jr. Zack Sabre Jr. is like, one of my favorite wrestlers in the company. And then even beyond him, though, I mean, I think Jay White's awesome if he stays. I think he's been really, really good. I'm trying to think of foreigners now off the top of my head and for some reason failing. Robbie Eagles has been awesome.
The Tongans.
They're not. I mean, actually, I was saying Tonga Loa looks really good, and on the tag league for Tama Tonga looks the same as he always does, which is not that great. But Tonga Loa, I think, has made a few big strides. But yeah, I mean, there's some other guys too that I'm just like blanking on right now for some reason. But Yeah, Cobb's been awesome. That's a great one. I mean, Cobb, he was, ever since the heel turn, he's been so good. And then, he and Shingo, put on that incredible match at Wrestle Kingdom. Ospreay, never going to be my favorite guy, and he has his own issues too, but I think he's been, better since he turned heel as well. There's other guys too that, like I said, like Dragon Lee's been awesome when he's been there. He hasn't been able to get in the company in a while. Jon Moxley was awesome when he was there. David Finlay, I think, was really good during that tag league tour. I mean, there's plenty of forwards in this company I like. I guess is the point. The problem is ELP is not one of them, and ELP is, as heavily pushed as anybody right now in this junior division. And he just doesn't do anything for me. The loaded boot gimmick is just so, I don't know. It's just like, I don't know. It is old school and like very. In a bad way, I guess. It's like, it's a territory cheap heat gimmick that I don't need to see in 2021 New Japan. Like the whole, I don't have anything on my boot thing that's supposed to be heel heat. It's like, it's just very boring to me. There's just nothing to it. And like the other thing people will say with ELP is like, if you don't like him, well, he's a heel, you're not supposed to like him. And it's like, I get it, but that's the same fucking defense that WWE fans have been making for years about Baron Corbin. I mean, you could say that for literally basically what you're saying when you say that is you are not allowed to not like a heel because not liking a heel is what they want you to do. Well, then I guess Evil must be the greatest wrestler of all time then, since a lot of people listening to this fucking hate him, but he's a heel. What's he doing that's so fucking different? So I don't know. I shouldn't have. I feel like I've had the same rant in the uphill a million times now, but I cannot stand him. And like his whole gimmick of like internet troll, basically, especially like he is so annoying on the English commentary. I've been trying to listen to it again when Kevin Kelly's in the building, at least when you don't have that horrible overdub effect. But I might have to go back to the Japanese if ELP is going to keep sitting in with him because he is so and I get it. And nobody needs to tell me he's trying to be annoying. I get that he's trying to be annoying. It's just, it doesn't mean it's not annoying, and it doesn't mean I want to see it. So, it's not good heat. It's get the fuck out of this company, please, heat. So, I don't know. I don't know if you feel any different about ELP, but that's my ELP rant.
Yeah, no, just overall, I do agree. I think he's an incredibly talented, like, human, just physically gifted, and that, like, just exponentially. But yeah, it's something about this character, and like you said, like you summed it up pretty well. But I was actually typing up after watching this match. I was typing out a tweet, and I just kept going back and forth. Like, I don't know how to craft the thought that I'm trying to convey, but I just I go back and forth on him so much because like he'll have those great showings like he did in the Super J Cup against Liger or Rocky Romero in the Best of the Super Juniors a couple years ago, and just some great matches. But it's something about it's just this gimmick. It's just cringy in
cringy is a great
way.
Word.
And yeah,
I mean cringy. It there's something about that makes me feel embarrassed for both of us. Like for me for watching it, and for him for portraying it, and it's like I don't know. I mean I don't doubt the guy has talent. I mean he's had some matches that I've enjoyed. That one more Will Ospreay that everybody brings up was really good. The Sumo Hall one, I'm not denying it, but like, I don't want to see this gimmick. I just don't have any interest in watching this gimmick, and the loaded boot thing has just made it worse. If anything, I mean, it's just just very cringeworthy. But yeah, so I ended up slapping 3 1/4 on this. The bullshit fiesta at the end with everybody running in and refs getting taken out and all that. I'm sure that probably annoyed people more than annoyed me. I thought it was kind of funny. It was kind of silly, and the crowd seemed to enjoy it. Although I don't know if you necessarily want people laughing at your main event, but
that's okay. Thank you for saying that. I was going to say the exact same thing. I was sitting there watching the second ref bump, and then I forget who the third ref coming out was, but he comes out and checks on the second ref who was knocked out, and you hear that audible laughter in especially during these times when everybody's quiet by rule, and you hear an audible like collective laughter in your main event. that means you're not probably hitting the right note in terms of what you're trying to get across to the fans. And what
I don't know. I kind of think they were going for that kind of reaction. I just don't know if that's a reaction you should go for in this. I mean, I guess the other side of the argument could be it's just the junior tag titles. It's just a Road 2 show. I get that. It's not like it's the main event of Wrestle Kingdom. But
it's I feel like just running a show in Ota Ward Gym, like, that gives it a level of...
Which is why I was disappointed by this match
in
the show. So, yeah, I know, I agree with that.
Yeah. I love that venue. I was expecting to go in, and I see all these, basically exactly just kind of facsimiles of the shows from earlier in the week, just a little beefed up a little bit and switched around. And I was looking forward to it on the sheer fact that it was in Ota Ward. And I thought they would go a little bit harder, and it really...
Did you ever been to that venue? Really That's another bucket list venue for me. I'm thinking about it. I've never been to Ota Ward Gym.
No,
there was like really I think on our trip there was a Joshi promotion. I want to say Pro Wrestling Wave was running Ota Ward Gym the same day as one of the big shows, maybe even Invasion Attack, and we were like really thinking about it. But when we saw how far it was that we would probably miss part of Invasion Attack or whatever show it was, we were like, we can't really do this because I really wanted to do it. But
you made the right choice in terms of going, because you ended up going to that Noah show in Differ.
That's true.
So you got to see Differ, and that's
Differ.
That place isn't open anymore. Whereas you'll get the chance.
You didn't get to go to Differ, right? Yeah, Differ.
Nope.
Differ was
got
awesome.
That over
Differ
well.
was really cool. Yeah, it doesn't even exist anymore. But
so sad.
But yeah, like this, the main event here, all the low blows and a million things that happened at the end. It was kind of fun, but the early part was just so slow and boring, and pretty much anything ELP did just dragged this match down for me. Even though I loved Despy and Kanemaru, and the highlight of this match and why even went as high as 3 1/4 was Despy and Kanemaru getting to work babyface, and Kanemaru did a really beautiful moonsault at one point, and just they were really fun as the faces here, as Suzuki-gun has been really fun as faces throughout this entire Bullet Club feud. But it's just the match itself, just everything ELP did here did not work for me. So that's why it's only 3 1/4. Anything else you want me to move on to the semi-main event?
I'm good to go. Yeah, it was fine. I was hoping to enjoy it a lot more than I did.
The semi-main was an elimination match. Hontai and Chaos. We had to put they had to put in context the top. So if you look at the top, they don't list the wrestlers' names, but it says New Japan Main Army and Chaos versus Los Ingos, and we had to put and Chaos for show. He's the only Chaos member of this match. First of all, you might as well just put up New Japan Main Army and show, and second of all, who cares about the difference between the New Japan Main Army and Chaos at this point? I mean, it's meant nothing since the day Tanahashi and Okada had that handshake. But yes, so the New Japan Main Army and Chaos defeated LIJ. Kota Ibushi, Tanahashi, Tomoaki Honma, Sho, and Master Wato beating Sonata, Shingo, Naito, Hiromu, and Bushi. Honma eliminated Naito last over the top rope in 24-22. So this was the other big disappointment of the show for me. I usually love these elimination matches, and I was really looking forward to this, but this was fine, but really nowhere near as good as I was hoping. I mean, the eliminations just were very predictable throughout, other than
I don't feel like they had a creative bone in their bodies when they were forming this match play out. It was just dump them over the top rope, basically like the Royal Rumble, or just kind of backdrop them over the top rope and then punch him and he'll fall to the floor. And it was kind of that standard type of elimination tactic.
Yeah, no, it's totally fine. I mean, just lots of over the top rope eliminations, a couple double eliminations. They just had Ibushi and Sonata. I mean, I guess the big shocker was that Ibushi and Sonata were the first two out. Ibushi tried to dump them both, and when it looked like Ibushi was trying to give Sonata his Swan Dive German, and then Master Wato sends Bushi into both of them to eliminate them. But after that, it was everything Wato's shooting with Bushi, so Wato eliminates Bushi. And then, Hiromu takes care of Wato. But then Sho eliminates Hiromu because they're feuding. Shingo, eliminates Sho because they used to have a feud. And then Tanahashi give Shingo a dragon screw off the apron to eliminate him because they had a feud. And I don't think there was a single pin in this entire match, which is usually, pretty wild. I mean, there's usually at least one. And, it was all over the top rope. And it comes down to Honma and Naito. That was probably the highlight here. And I use that term loosely, I guess. Yeah. But this feud, this is a point I'm going to make. I guess I might as well make it now. I mean, this tour, the Road to New Beginning tour, the main feuds, which are Sonata and Kota Ibushi for the double titles, which, they're going to meet on, I believe, February 11th. Hiromu and Sho for the junior title February 10th. And Tanahashi Shingo for the Never title on January 30th. Those feuds have no juice at all. I mean, there is nothing on this tour that's building them up to be anything. And I'm really surprised by that, especially in the case of Shingo and Tanahashi, which I thought that feud would have a ton of juice. I thought that would be really interesting. And instead, they've barely done anything with each other. I mean, Tanahashi came out and said at the end of the last show that, his exact quote was, never is not my goal. So it's why are you challenging this fucking title then, buddy? And it made it sound like, well, I just want to use the Never title as a stepping stone to get back to challenge for the double titles. Because what else could he mean by that, So maybe he'll beat Shingo, and then maybe he'll challenge Kota Ibushi for Castle Attack. That's fine. But, they need to be doing something else for this feud. Shingo should be pissed that he's saying that. Shingo hasn't shown any kind of, fire or anything. He hasn't really done or said much of anything as far as I could tell. And, all he's basically said was, oh, Tanahashi, I'm going to beat him. That's it. He really hasn't done anything. Just very, uncharacteristically low-key stuff from Shingo in these promos. Sho and Hiromu, they're doing, and I guess the problem with maybe the big problem with is all three of your top feuds right now are babyface versus babyface, and they don't really have any, there's, no viciousness behind them or anything. But, Sho and Hiromu are just doing, oh, we're going to have fun fighting each other. That's fine, I guess. And that probably has, the most heat of the three feuds, probably, which is, not saying much. And then Kota and Sonata haven't done anything. And I've been a Sonata defender, and I've been a Sonata apologist, but, man, buddy, you're challenging for the double titles. You could do something here. You showed some fire in that evil feud, and you, that feud, and it ended up with a match that ended up being surprisingly really good. And, just do something with Kota here. Get this going. Because this has no heat at all so far. But yeah, the feuds that have been working on this tour are Naito and Honma, which they've weirdly teased at since last September. So that's one of the longest term programs going in this company is Tetsuya Naito and Tomoaki Honma. When Naito was taunting him before the G1 whether or not he'd be able to go into it, and obviously he didn't. Which I thought was a way to set it up that in case they couldn't get the foreigners in, which was which wasn't a guaranteed thing at the time. They were going to put Honma in, which would have, imagine that. That would have been horrifying. But yeah, I thought that's what they were doing there. But they went back to it now. And, the whole story here of Honma, Naito is very dismissive of him and is you're below Yota Tsuji to me, as a target right now. And, Honma's whole thing is he's desperate just to show Naito that he should even be taken seriously at all. And he gets, his moment here to dump Naito over the top rope. The problem, the feud itself is great, especially the promos and stuff have been really great. The problem is Honma can't move. That's the thing. It'd be great if Honma could move still. If this was the Honma of 2016 or whatever, when he was a brilliant underdog and doing all this, this feud would be awesome. The problem is he can't move. Yeah. So, they're...
And the only layer of just I won't even I wouldn't even say I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. Whenever he goes for that Kokeshi off that top rope, that's the only moment in his match where I feel anything really. It's just and it's not excitement, it's fear for his life because I don't want him to actually go through with doing a Kokeshi off the top rope after basically breaking his head off of
there was a moment in this match where Naito was trying to send Honma into the ropes to crotch Tanahashi up there when he was going for the high fly flow, and sending Honma into the ropes was very generous because Honma can't move. So he goes to send him, and Honma very slowly stumbles back up into the ropes. But yeah, and that's how Naito eliminated Tanahashi. But yeah, look, there's people out there who will tell you that Naito can't move. It makes me wonder, like, what do these people think? Like, Naito obviously has slowed down a bit.
Yeah.
But, like, you see him in there with Hanma, Naito looks like he's in his fucking prime by comparison. And it's like, I don't know what these people think when they say, like, what do you... If you say Naito can't move, like, you think Hanma's an actual corpse? Like, I don't understand. But, yeah, it is, it is a really... It's an interesting feud, but also, like, just not... Obviously, just the part that Hanma can't move is a big problem. But yeah, Hanma eliminates Naito here.
Yeah.
Over the top rope to eliminate him. And Naito cut a great promo afterwards in the backstage promos where he was like, he starts to say those over the top rope eliminations don't count. But then he's like, I hate when people say that. It does count. And, it's just like his kind of thing is like being the hardcore fan voice or something. And he's just like, and then he basically says, Hanma, you've gone up the ranking a little bit. You're still below Tsuji, but you've gone up a bit. And Hanma, is given this very sincere babyface promo about like, oh, do you notice me now? And then they had the tag match they had on today's Korakuen, which was Naito and Hiromu against Hanma and Sho. That was way better than this. That was like a 3.5-star tag match. And, Hanma, like he looked like, I don't know, like in kayfabe he's supposed to be revitalized from eliminating Naito, but like he looked like he was actually moving a little better too. It was very weird. But yeah, I mean, like he, that was his best match in forever. And, they obviously Sho and Hiromu were great, and Naito was, Naito was good. And the entire match, like, built to this big spot where, like, Hanma looks like he might actually be able to beat Naito, but Naito gets some help from Hiromu and then gets that jumping flash pin he does to pin Hanma. So yeah, I mean, the Naito Hanma thing is like the second most interesting feud in New Japan right now. The first is obviously Empire against Tenkozy, but that's again with two old guys in it. So the old men are carrying this tour to a degree. And the Evil Okada feud is kind of interesting too, I think, which we can get to when we get to that match. It's at least something. But yeah, like the side feuds, two of which are not building up anything on this tour. They're just in tag matches the entire time. The side feuds are kind of carrying the company through this tour, and the main feuds are just nothing. And that I guess also dragged this match down. And I slapped 3 stars on this. It was perfectly fine, but in these elimination matches, they definitely get hurt by. They used to have like these molten hot crowds that went crazy whenever there was even a tease of elimination. Obviously, you can't do that during COVID. But yeah, this was like disappointing, and I think a big part of why it was disappointing was, how like nothing these top feuds for the top matches on this tour feel right now. So
yeah, I not to beat a dead horse, but I agree. I feel like we're agreeing on pretty much everything today. But yeah, New Japan's I don't know. I can't remember the last time I felt like just basically everything New Japan was presenting felt stale or dry, and just really nothing to really get excited about. And it's I don't know. It's hopefully it's just a holding pattern until the spring or something. I don't know, but there's something lacking in that.
See, I think what I would say is not that I think things are that dire. It's more like there's a lot of stuff underneath the surface that I think they can go to in the future, and that it's going to be exciting. But the stuff they're focusing on now is so fucking boring and such a test pattern, and it screams, well, we can't do Fantastica Mania, so we have to stretch out these feuds that normally would go 2 weeks into a month and a half, and it's just not working. I mean, and like I said, the guys who are most interesting are the people doing nothing, basically, or the people doing on the undercard stuff. Yeah. Which, that isn't long term. That's not a problem. I mean, at least there's people in the company that feel interesting, but and I think there is stuff that they will set up for Castle Attack, and then the New Japan Cup and Sakura Genesis that will be exciting and probably will be. It could be exciting and probably will be exciting, but the stuff they're doing now on top just isn't exciting at all. And I'm really surprised by how fast this Kota Ibushi title reign feels like nothing. And I don't know if that means that the Kota Ibushi reign is going to be pretty short, or if it's just a case where the first challenger here isn't clicking, or what. But yeah, Kota is a chase guy and throughout his career more than a champion. I mean, we went over that in a past episode where like all of his DDT title reigns for like 90 days. And I kind of wonder if that might not be playing out here again, where like, you know, he's a guy to get behind while you're waiting. You know, you want him to win, but I don't know if he's like a great long-term champion. But
yeah. I don't think he's losing.
He's not losing Sonata. He could lose a Castle Attack to somebody.
I could totally. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, or whoever wins the New Japan Cup, I would be surprised. But yeah, that's it just definitely feels like you said, like the main stories, just there's nothing really there.
I mean,
they have all the parts to make something, but it's kind of all not really cohesive.
It's very much. I mean, it feels very much like we're killing time. I mean, that's all it feels. I mean, like killing time is, you know, and if it's killing time until we get to, you know, really good stuff, I guess we'll see. But like, it's not a good follow up on Wrestle Kingdom at all. I mean, just not anything to this tour so far. And I mean, with the main stuff, there is some lower stuff that's like simmering that looks pretty cool. Like, if anything, Castle Attack looks like it might be the big, you know, and they don't normally do. I mean, that could be the other problem. So normally the schedule works: Fantastica Mania, New Beginning, then basically like some other little Korakuens, and then straight to Anniversary Show and New Japan Cup and Invasion Attack. This year they're trying to squeeze basically another big show in there. So it's going to go New Beginning, Castle Attack, and then Anniversary Show and New Japan Cup and Invasion Attack, or in Sakura Genesis now. So maybe there just isn't enough there to do, you know, 2 big shows before the New Japan Cup. Like, you know, almost 3 big shows for the Anniversary Show, even though they don't normally do a title match there. But yeah, maybe there just isn't enough juice there. So, I mean, you know, maybe the big pre-New Japan Cup stuff will end up being on Castle Attack. But, I mean, they're also missing a bunch of foreigners, too. But, you know, there's stuff that's been teased that sounds cool. Like, Suzuki, backstage, you know, basically said he wanted to face somebody bigger in Bullet Club. He listed Evil and Jay White, but then he said Kenta. And was like, well, no, Kenta, you're not the only person who has unfinished business with Jon Moxley. Now, if Kenta versus Minoru Suzuki was one of the feuds we're building up right now for New Beginning, I mean, that would feel really cool, probably. But that sounds like it'll be a Castle Attack match. Yeah. So, again, you know, it feels like Castle Attack is going to be the pre-New Japan Cup event that has a lot of heat and stuff. So, I guess we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I'm 100% here for Kenta Suzuki. That'll be awesome. Then we have match number 3. The one thing that is carrying this tour right now, the Empire against Tenkozy. Here we have Tenzan getting disqualified in 11:52 for beating up Okan with the chair. So this was basically they took out Tenzan on the January 6th New Year's Dash show. Okan gave him his own TTD, and you know they did a big neck injury angle. So Tenzan, you know, he did not come out here like everything was normal. He came out here fucking pissed. And he showed a very appropriate amount of anger in the early going. Just like blatantly choking Okan while he's down on the mat, which you never really see him do anymore. You know, it's easy to forget this, but he was like a top heel for a while. I mean, he was the original leader of Great Bash Heel back when that actually was the top heel unit. But yeah, I mean, this was like the most vicious he's been in a long time. And, you know, Okan like reversed him on the mat and was like just blatantly targeting his injured neck, and he like got his back and was like pounding on him with punches. They did like a claw hold in the neck. But yeah, there was like you know, Okan looked just like you know, we didn't mention him as like somebody that probably can do bigger stuff later in the year, but like he looks like a fucking star here. I mean, you know, at one point Kojima comes out of, like, Okan is already so good at the little things. Like, Kojima at one point comes out of nowhere, gives him this big Koji cutter, and Okan takes this gigantic bump, like practically bounces off the mat like a pinball. And that's the kind of thing I feel like people don't give him nearly enough credit for, because he's already so good at like making people look good.
Yeah.
You know, especially compared to Will Ospreay in this match, because Ospreay later on took a Koji cutter, and he took the bump by, I'm trying to just think how to describe this. He lands face first on the mat. He leaps upwards, like in a very clear way, but you can tell he's jumping, and like wails his arms around like he's trying to fight the air or something before rolling out of the ring. I was like, buddy, that was not a good bump. So, I don't know. Especially coming right after the Okan one. It was, yeah, I don't know. I mean, Ospreay, you know, he can be very hit or miss for me, and that was definitely a miss.
Yeah, it's a bit of an
That's
oversell.
one way to put it, for sure. But yeah, this match was really good. Like, easily the best thing on the show. All the Tenzan versus Okan stuff was really heated. And I know Tenzan has a lot of trouble moving, but again, next to Hanma, he looks like a spring chicken. So I went 3 3/4 on this. I thought this was really good. I didn't at all expect the United Empire team to be left laying, even with the DQ, but that's what happened. So they really they're letting Tenkoji really look good here, leading up to these 2 singles matches. It's by far the best built thing on this tour. So
yeah, God bless Juice Robinson for allowing this to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Because of his injury. Because I'm like all in on this Ospreay Kojima feud. I'm looking forward to that singles match quite a bit.
Anything else to say about the actual match before I move on? Okay. So match number 2 was Okada, Ishii, and Yoshihashi against Evil, Yujiro, and Dick Togo. Okada submitted Yujiro in 9:58 with the money clip. So this is the other thing where I'm not as high on this as the Naito Hama thing or obviously the Tenkoji versus Empire thing. But the Okada Evil storyline is kind of interesting. I mean, the whole thing with Evil doesn't want to face this guy in a singles match. They're matched up on these tags, and Okada's openly asking the New Japan office why they won't just book the singles match. And they do a little too much of this in the backstage promos now, where the New Japan office look like idiots or heels or something. Where they did that with Naito and Ibushi, openly wondering why the fuck Jay White got to be on the second night after cheating to beat Ibushi. But other than that, I mean, I think it's it's a little interesting story. It's it's more interesting than some of the other builds are on this tour for sure. But maybe make the people really wait for that Okada Evil match. So by the time a match that really will be for nothing probably at Castle Attack finally happens, maybe some people will actually be looking forward to it. So I get what they're doing here.
Yeah.
This match itself though, not very good. I went 2.5 stars on it. Very average. Just a little definition of an average New Japan multi-man tag here. Just doesn't help it ended with the muddy clip, the worst finisher in wrestling. So
yeah, I was thrown off because Cage Match actually has this match listed incorrectly. They have Goto, and I'm using that as a reference. And I was like, Goto wasn't in this match; it was Ishii. And that was the one note I had for this match was Ishii and Dick Togo when they were in there together. And
that's true.
Pretty great. It was brief, but I would love to somehow see a singles match between those two again. If New Japan wants to throw it on one of these meaningless Korakuens or something, I would be more than happy to tune in.
Kind of thing, obviously, some random singles matches like that would be really cool.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, they that's definitely a highlight. That was the highlight of the match. The rest of this match was just nothing. So
because they used to be a tag team there for a brief moment, in the early 2000s, and I think they've only had 1 or 2 singles in history, and I don't know, those two seem like they would have been in the same kind of circle or locker room for a good portion of their careers, so I want to see it.
The opener was Minoru Suzuki and Doki defeating Gato and Jado. Doki pinning Gato in 9:27 with the Jorge Labarra special. So Gato's doing a whole gimmick now where he's a sad boy because Jay White is maybe gone forever. But yeah, he looks lost right now, and that's kind of the story they were telling here with Doki pinning him. This was the match where on paper I was whoa, what the fuck, this could be cool. In actuality, it was 2 3/4. I mean, it was it was a decent little opener. It's just some of these spots with Jado are a little painful to watch, and the opening heat sequence was kind of boring. But all the stuff with Gato against Doki and Suzuki going nuts during the match. One point, so they're doing the hot tag setup where Doki can't get the tag to Suzuki. But then when Gato tries to run over to clothesline Suzuki off the apron, Suzuki just grabs him in this rope-assisted armbar and then just fucking goes crazy on both guys without even getting the tag, which was a really interesting little twist on the sequence and really fun. And then Doki takes advantage and gets a running double stomp and a nice axe bomber on Gato for a 2 count before eventually getting the pin. But yeah, this was they're building up a Jado versus Doki singles match, it seems which is certainly a thing to build up, I guess. But I like Doki a lot, but I don't know what he can do with 2021 Jado at this point.
Yeah. To be fair, I feel like 2021 Jado somehow is
that's a good point too.
2020 Jado.
Even as bad as he's moving, it's better than he was moving like at the New Japan Cup last year.
Seriously, yeah. His physique, like he's gotten into a lot better shape over the past couple months. But yeah, I mean, he could barely walk to the ring. I feel like in like early summer last year, and now he's, working pretty regularly and moving around a little bit better. For what it's worth, but yeah.
So this show, like I would say, pretty disappointing. I guess still better than the 3 Korakuens from earlier in the week, but really, like, I don't think you need to watch that Oda War Gym show. Maybe just watch the tag match with Tenkoji and and the United Empire, but the rest of the show is very skippable. I would like I said, the show today, which was the Korakuen from today on the 24th, which we're not going to review match by match. We're just going to mention a couple of things. I haven't even seen the main event yet. But the other matches on this card, the opener, which was Doki Desperado, Suzuki, and Kanemaru against Tiger Mask, Makabe, Nagata, and Uemura. That was like a 3.5-star match. That was really good. Uemura looked like $1 million in that match. Just really got to be like a major focus, and that was a lot of fun. There's another wild United Empire against Jinkozi brawl, where this time, Okan came out all pissed off because of what happened, and and Ospreay did too, but Okan was like the star with like beating the shit out of Tenzan in that one, and I went to another no contest. The evil, Okada tag was about what it's been throughout the entire tour, which is fine. But yeah, then the other highlight was LIJ versus, I already mentioned this, the Naito and Hiromu against Hanma in show tag, which was a lot of fun. So yeah, the Korakuen today was fun, and I think better than the Oda War Gym show overall. But like I said, I still haven't watched the main event yet. So,
yeah, right on. Yeah, I'll have to, at least put this on in the background at work.
And there's one more Korakuen. There's one more Korakuen left on Monday. So that's the last one, and then after that, we go to Nagoya on Saturday for the New Beginning in Nagoya, which has the Shingo versus Hiroshi Tanahashi Never title match as the main event, and then the Kojima versus Ospreay and Tenzan versus Okan singles matches, an 8-man tag with LIJ against Hontai and Chaos, because Show is there. Can't forget about Chaos. And then Okada and Yano against Evil and Yujiro opener. So, some good stuff there. That'll be even though the build has been kind of crap, the Shingo Tanahashi match itself could still be really good. So, excited to see that. And then obviously the Empire versus Team Koji singles matches should be fun. And then that's it. And then after that, obviously the last 2 shows of the tour, or the last 2, there's some more Korakuens in between, but then the tour wraps up with February 10th, the New Beginning in Hiroshima, which has the very anticipated Master Wato versus Bushi singles match. And then it also has GOD against Taichi and Zack for the tag titles, and Hiromu versus Sho for the junior title. And then the next night in Hiroshima, the other half is the definition of a one-match show. Just Sonata versus Ibushi. But, yeah, that's all we got here. Yeah,
Yeah. If they threw all of that on one show, all the big matches, I know it's logistically it'd probably be easier, but they want to stretch it out like they normally do. But I don't know, it just makes for kind of a lot of just mulling through just samey, just the same thing, it seems, over and over again. And I don't know, hopefully New Japan gets out of that grind soon.
Yeah. So, that'll be it for the tour. And then we start the road to Castle Attack very quickly after that. It's, let's see, when does it start? I think it starts like a few days later. Yeah, like 3 days later, February 14th. So let's see how many, there's 1 million Korakuens on this tour. 1, 2, 3, 4 straight nights,
yeah,
4 straight Korakuens, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And
then they go back to
22nd, 25th, Monday, Thursday. And then you get the 2 nights Castle Attack, 27th and 28th. Then you get a few days off again for the anniversary show on March 4th at Budokan. And then the very next day, New Japan Cup starts March 5th. So, plenty of New Japan to watch. So definitely can't complain about that. But, some of these shows definitely, like people just don't, these Korakuens especially, like, you don't have to watch them. That's what I always tell people. It's like, they're going to run these shows because they need to make money. They need to sell tickets. And they can't, especially with the amount of tickets they're only able to sell right now and stuff like that. But, like, you don't have to watch them all. Like, just put them on the background or anything. Like, just, don't go crazy trying to keep up with all these Korakuens. I mean, they're really not worth it. So, okay, so let's get to our mailbag questions we got, and then we can wrap it up here. First of all, on Twitter, from @RenegadeDugongs, he says, where can All Japan even go from here? Does Kento just win the carnival? I mean, I think the answer depends on, is Nomura coming back or not? Because if Nomura's coming back, he should win the carnival and he should win the title. If he's not coming back, if his career could be over, if it's going to take even longer, I mean, I know people hate it, but I would do Jake Lee. I mean, there's really nothing, like, Kento has nothing to gain from winning the carnival, especially at this point. Like, I get that people think it's never going to happen, but, like, just try it. Like, give Jake Lee his shot. I've made this argument a million times. Just give him the fucking shot. See if he can at least be something as a champion and hold the belt for a little while. And then you can always go back to Kento. Have Kento beat him. He's beaten him a million times. I mean, but, like, I would give it a shot at this point. What do you have to lose?
Right. Yeah. And it's like, I don't think it's smart, honestly, to go back to Kento that fast too. Just to Kento to drop it to Suwama and then Suwama to drop it back to Kento. I mean, I feel like they've done that in the past too. So it's like, just throw some fresh meat up top in that main event scene, and I feel like that would help out a lot. And I think Jake is more than deserving of it.
And people really hate him and say it's not going to happen. But, like, what does that mean if they never give him a chance? I don't know. Like, he's never going to have... Clearly, he's never going to have, like, all-world charisma. We get that. But, like, you don't have... I mean, especially with the state All Japan's in, I mean, no one's asking him to be Kenzo Kobashi. I mean, just give the guy a shot,
Right.
At Travis Zick, is it time for All Japan to stop focusing on the old guys? I mean, they don't have a lot of guys, period. They don't really have a lot of choice, I mean, I guess to a degree, but, like, I don't know. I don't really... I mean, they have to push who they have, I guess. I mean, you could have had Ashino win. I don't know what else. Like, he felt very cold to me anyway, so I don't know. I mean, I guess the answer is yes, but, like, what else do you want them to do is also my other question. So.
Yeah. Kohei Sato.
There you
Just go with a new old guy.
Beth at Love Songwriter says, as we are quickly heading into new beginning for New Japan, and with all the Unite the Title story, where do you see it going from there? I don't know. That's a great question because, Kota said that stuff about wanting to unite the titles, and then it hasn't really come up at all during the build to him and Sonata. Like, Kota, like, Sonata mentioned it, like, once, and Kota was like, we're not worried about that right now. It has nothing to do with your title match. I'm like, well, then what are we doing with that? Like, is New Japan going to just, like, announce one day the belts are unified? Like, are we going to get a new belt brought out? Is New Japan going to say no? Like, it just feels like everything else at the top of the card is in a total holding pattern. I mean, I would assume the answer is they're going to bring out a new belt at some point. Yep. But, like, I don't know why it's taken so long. So, if that's what they're going to do.
It just doesn't make sense to have him lose, like, the IC belt to still hold on to the IWGP heavyweight title, or really anybody. Like, it's just... I feel like that'd be pretty tacky for booking, like, a top guy like that. But unless you have some, like, crooked, heelish antics, or, Bullet Club, somehow only challenging for one belt at a time or something like that. I can't see why they would keep both on one person for another year.
On the Discord, a couple questions. First of all, Ice Age Cummings says, who should avenge Black Mensa Ray's unmasking by the disgusting, despicable Jun Kasai? Well, Ishikawa obviously is going to step forward to defend the Snake Man's honor. So,
yeah, and then Kasai did throw a little errant boot at Omori, who was seconding Menso Ray. So maybe we'll get a really exciting Kasai Takao Omori match for the Galwar.
And then Joe
TV
Gagny asked, who would you have on seat Suwama? I think we kind of said, but yeah, I mean, assuming Nomura can't come back, I would do Jake Lee. That's what I would do. But
yeah, that I would agree with that. And if Nomura, like, even if Nomura did come back, they would take quite a while to build him back up to the status he was when he got hurt. I would imagine they wouldn't just throw him right into the Triple Crown scene. So I say give it to Jake, man. It seems so easy.
We got one last Discord question back on the 22nd before I even announced this show. I hesitate to know if I should read this one or not. It's very long. It has nothing to do with anything. Do you want me to? Let's give it a shot. So he says, "Dear John, this is so dopey, but hopefully it is okay. I like to think of myself as kind of a forward-thinking, sci-fi-minded motherfucker. I would love to someday see wrestling on the moon. It obviously would be quite a different dynamic, perhaps more akin to ballet or theater, but I think it could be pretty cool. I know gravity is a bitch, and E equals MC squared or whatever, but I think it's achievable. I love the high flyers, and I understand gravity on the moon is roughly 1/6 of what we've got here on old terra firma. I'm not a rocket scientist or whatever, but I'm pretty sure 450 times 6 is a whole friggin' bunch of rotations." Any thoughts, Joey?
I
agree.
Yes.
Wrestling on the moon sounds great, and I think you totally sold me on it. So thank you for that question. Mixel Pix? What? Do you know anything about?
I would like to see
the Superman villain. I think that's what he's named after. I have no idea how to say it. Mixel Pix or something. I don't know. I'm not a Superman. I'm not a comic book guy, so I can recognize that's what it is, but I really have no idea how to pronounce it. So, but thank you for that, sir. That was something. Yes. Anyway, I guess we can wrap things up here. Go ahead and give me any plugs, Joey, because I got to plug the Patreon, which I forgot to do at the start, like I usually do.
Sure. Yeah. No, I don't really have anything. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm Joey at Joey_Bay. On Instagram, I'm BowieJ. Yeah, I just try to keep it positive for the most part on my Twitter, especially in terms of wrestling. I don't usually put the negative thoughts out there. I just kind of leave that to myself and try to pimp out whatever.
So whatever you don't tweet about, I should assume you hate. So. Like,
I wouldn't go that far. I'm not compelled enough to even talk about it. Is probably more accurate, but yeah.
Or meanwhile, of course, you can follow us on Twitter at Wrestling Omakase, Wrestling Women Fet. Check out the Wrestling Omakase Patreon, patreon.com/Wrestling Omakase. The big thing right now, I mean, we're wrapping up the first part of our series covering every Tokyo Dome main event in order. So if you want to check that out, I mean, we just did the Big Egg Wrestling Universe, which was a lot of fun to talk about. The next 2 episodes that coming out this week will wrap things up until we resume it next year, and it'll be the New Japan show from 1495, which is the Hashimoto versus Kensuke Sasaki main event, and then the Tokyo Sports mini promotion show that ends up being another New Japan main event, because that's who was the main event of it, which was the Weekly Pro Show, yeah.
Oh, the Weekly Pro Show.
Yeah, but I mean, we're basically when I looked at it on the thing, I'm thinking oh, this would be cool to do as a change. But since I'm only doing the main events, it's just another New Japan main event, so it means very little for me. But yeah, so it's Hashimoto against Masahiro Chono. But yeah, so those are. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
What? Oh, no, I don't want to take the whatever you were talking about on that episode, but isn't that main event just rated horribly and New Japan tried to scrap it from their history books, or am I thinking of?
Remember New Japan, or I think the big problem was they got completely overshadowed by the All Japan 6-man that came right before it. Yeah, so
that's what it was. Yes,
the All Japan 6-man. I can't. Let's see. I'm gonna look up what it is now because I'm curious. I just remember thinking it was with those 6 guys. I was oh, I bet that was way better than not to take anything away from Hashimoto and Chono, but I bet that was that really overshadowed it, and I'm sure it did. Well, Cage Match doesn't want to load right now, so I guess I will not be telling you who is in that. Although I have my copy of Eggshell for it. Let's see. Some exciting book opening sounds on the podcast, probably. Okay, so it was Akira Taue, Johnny Ace, and Toshiaki Kawada against Kenta Kobashi, Stan Hansen, and Mitsuharu Misawa, and it went to a time limit draw. So I'm sure that was
okay.
Awesome.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
But yeah, there's basically every promotion you could think of at the time gave a match, and yeah, I think the New Japan one just had a really hard time following that All Japan match. So, but yeah, we'll be talking about that on the Patreon.
Makes sense.
And then after that, we'll be doing submissions from patrons. So patrons are allowed to submit any match they want within certain rules, although people have already been trying to break the rules, like giving me Brit Res and US Indies and stuff, which I didn't want, but I let them do it because they're paying me money. But yes, I mean, if you still want to sign up and submit some match for me to cover in February for $5, you can do that. And we're taking submissions until January 31st, and then we will randomize them, and I'll be covering 2 a week throughout the month of February. So we got all sorts of stuff. It'll be really fun to talk about. I mean, everything from current New Japan, old school Joshi. I think there was some Brit, like I said, a Brit Res match in there, a Low-Key versus Bryan Danielson from a JPW match, which will be fun to talk about. I mean, all sorts of stuff. So definitely check it out. It's at patreon.com/wrestling, patreon.com/wrestling omakase. Excuse me, losing my voice here. This is what happens when you do four podcasts a week. But yes, that's where you can find all of our Patreon bonus content. We also did a brand new full 5 matches episode with VOW's Sean Cedar. That went up this past Monday. That was a lot of fun. So yeah, if you haven't heard that yet, you can go sign up at the Patreon to check that out. Alrighty, with that, folks, next week I'll be back here with Voices of Wrestling's Paul Vosch. Paul and I are going to talk about 2 shows again. The New Japan New Beginning in Nagoya show on the 30th we talked about with Tanahashi and Shingo, and the Noah January 31st Korakuen, which is their last hype show before Budokan. So that should be fun. But in the meantime, thank you as always for listening, and I will see you next time.
Start the new year right during the Xfinity Hello 2021 sales event. For a limited time, get Xfinity Internet and mobile together for only $35 a month for 12 months with a 1-year agreement, and mobile with our 1 gig wireless data option. Plus, get $250 back. This sale ends soon, so visit Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit an Xfinity store today. Internet offer requires paperless billing and autopay. Ends 1/11/21. Restrictions apply. New performance starter plus internet customers only. Equipment taxes, regulatory recovery, and other fees extra and subject to change. After term regular rates apply.
We're always driving to dance lessons. So we signed up for Know Your Drive. We save money and get closer to her dancing dreams.
The daring young man on the flying trapeze.
Or maybe her singing dreams. Sign up for Know Your Drive and save up to 20%. American Family Insurance. Insure carefully, dream fearlessly.
Products not available in every state. Discount terms apply. Visit amfam.com/knowyourdrive for details. American Family Mutual Insurance Company SI and its operating company 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin.